Marneus Augustus Calgar has returned yet again with a beautiful new model clad once again in his resplendent Terminator armor. It's quite an interesting choice for Games Workshop to move away from the plastic kit, which to me feels like a very new thing, and move back to a more traditional Terminator pattern for him. So in today's video, I'm going to explore Calgar, what he began as, work his way through all the different models he is, and then finish on his beautiful new Terminator armor, giving you my kind of thoughts and opinions on that, where he currently is in the story, what he's doing, and then obviously show you how to paint the Terminator while I'm at it. This video would not be possible if it wasn't for the big thanks to Underworld Gaming, who sent me a very nice care package. Underworld Gaming is the exclusive independent stockist here in Dublin, in Ireland. So if you want to check those guys out, I will leave a link to their kind of store below. So if you're thinking about buying yourself any Warhammer, any kind of card games, any board games, any other stuff like that in Ireland, shipped to your front door, and you want to save yourself a little bit of money in the process, that's the place to go. So do check those guys out. Like I said, linked below. Now, before I get into the video, I just want to say, as usual, a big thank you to all of my active supporters. Anyone who watches my videos, likes my videos, is subscribed to the channel, dropping comments, or all you extra awesome people who are subscribed to the Patreon. You guys keeps the lights on and the cameras rolling, so a big thank you to you guys. As you guys know, we've been doing a big revamp of Patreon over the kind of last month or two, adding so many more features. So now for becoming a member, you obviously get access to an extra video every single week. We do extra podcast episodes just for those guys. There's a private Discord server where you can hang out with me on a daily basis, talk about your hobby, get involved with all the different kind of activities you have going on there, whether it be monthly showcases, whether it be painting competitions, so on and so forth. And to add on top of all of that, we do monthly giveaways. We gave away a Night Titan last month, and this month we are giving away the Real Space Battle Force box. So if you've ever been thinking about getting into Dark Eldar, want to get yourself a really nice starting point to an army, to give them a chance to win, all you need to do is be a member of Patreon at any tier. Okay, with all that jargon out of the way, let's dive in and let's talk Calgar. Marneus sits, the original Calgar from 1988. So Marneus Calgar had his origins in the Rogue Trader days. He was one of the original named Ultramarines, details with artwork in the 1989 Warhammer 40k Compendium book. Back then, there was this Space Marine Commander miniature clearly inspired by that magnificent piece of artwork up there, sitting so proud amongst his stuffed Tyranids and beloved picture of the Emperor. This original metal miniature is quite kind of iconic for its day. He has a nice little throne, a holder for his bolter, and the OG dual power fists, long before they were evolved into the Gauntlets of Ultramar. Maybe he could order a fancier chair from the Master of the Forge, but no matter, this original Marneus Calgar would fight the good fight for 5 years, all while firmly planted in his chair, until at last we reached 1993. So after we endured the Marneus Calgar model sitting in his throne for 5 years, which was a bizarre choice to have kind of on the tabletop, we finally have Marneus Walks. So this model was released in 1993. And yes, that's right, at long last, Marneus Calgar got his butt out of the chair and started swinging the Gauntlets of Ultramar for the Emperor of Mankind in 1993. It was a second edition, the Ultramarines were a real thing with a real codex, and they needed a leader. That Calgar, personally for me, the one on foot swinging, is an absolutely stunning miniature, and it did serve the community well for 11 to 12 years. In 2004, we did get, in my opinion, one of the most iconic Space Marine miniatures that has ever been released. In this day and age, we are used to big, bombastic, insane kind of sculpts, all over the top, all elaborate. But back in 2004, that was not the case. So when they brought out the bling Marneus Calgar, which is absolutely insane for its time, it changed everything. So Marneus went all bling, all the time. It was the 4th edition with an all-new Space Marine Codex by Pete Hames and Graham McNeil. Marneus Calgar got all detail, all the time model right after the Codex went to print. Accompanied by his honor guard, I can tell you when GW rolled this out, everyone's jaws hit the floor and hobbyists around the globe rolled up their sleeves and prepared for a mighty challenge. And I still remember, like 4th edition is definitely the edition I kind of really delved into it. I kind of started in 3rd edition, but I didn't really go to events or hang out in stores and play games and stuff like that. So 4th edition was very much my time to be in a Games Workshop store and, you know, play games and look around at the kind of box sets on the wall every second of every day. And this Marneus Calgar set with Honor Guard on the wall was just something spectacular. And unfortunately, I think I bought him at one stage to convert him into an Amit miniature for my Flesh Tears. That conversion didn't go very well. I didn't even keep the Honor Guard. It's another model where I wish I'd get my hands on a full metal set of these guys unopened. Just to get all the Marneus Calgars through the ages, that would be fantastic. But this guy with the Honor Guard, with that champion, that bloody champion, is unbelievable. I think it's definitely a standout piece of all time for me. This was the height of style for Calgar and the height of his power. He ruled Macragge and answered to no one but his Primarch, dead for 9,000 years. Everything seemed fine for 10 years. Oh wait. What? There's an Eldar, Witch, an Admech Magos, and an Inquisitor at the front door? Well, let them in. And that beautiful Calgar served honorably for 14 years. It wasn't until 2018, the opening of the Great Rift, the return of Rabute Guilliman, and the Primaris sizing of Marneus Calgar that saw us get a new miniature, which is kind of an interesting take on the miniature itself. Kind of a bizarre one. And it's with the coming of the Primarch, Marneus stepped aside and took his place as his father's greatest living son. In time, he understood the transition into Primaris, and here he sits before us in plastic for the first time. After 30 years of metal minis, at least they kept his pair of Honor Guard. It's honestly just, he's a beautiful sculpt, but obviously taking him out of the current lore and the current universe and transitioning him into aggressor armor, which the sculpt is fantastic, but from a lore side of things, I genuinely don't know whether Games Workshop understood where Terminators fit inside the lore and the story when this guy came out. I was wondering if they were planning on dropping Terminators altogether. They had already written themselves into a corner saying that Belisarius Cawl could not improve on the Emperor's work creating Terminator plate. Therefore, there was never going to be any new Primaris Terminators. That didn't make sense in the lore or the story. Which means that when they had to upgrade characters that existed in Terminator armor previously, they had to make a hard decision. And with Marneus Calgar, they soon moved on to the aggressor one. But since then, they have retconned the story, saying that Terminator plate is quite large, quite bulky. A Primaris Marine or a normal kind of first edition Marine can both fit inside Terminator plate. Therefore, you can still feel Terminator armored miniatures in your armies. And since then, they've updated the scale and brought out new Terminators of all different shapes and sizes. And loads of characters have been returning, like Lysander, which we painted up last month on his channel, in his beautiful replaced Terminator armor. Which then left the Marneus Calgar in a funny place. And funnily enough, it's something that I didn't really expect at all, is we have him redone again. Now in 2025, Marneus Calgar has been reforged and reborn yet again. And that is obviously the miniature that we've been painting throughout this video. And he's come back in his resplendent Terminator armor. It serves as kind of two funny things, because they've stated that they will not remove the aggressor armor version of him from the lore or the story either. You can either choose to field him in the aggressor armor or in his Terminator plate. You get both options of Marneus Calgar. I quite like that as a thing. I'm not opposed to the idea of characters in stories having different equipment for different missions and different situations. So I would kind of be okay with the idea of there being a power armor version of him as well. And depending on his missions or the needs of, he would decide. There's that famous animation which saw a Grey Knight kind of stomping forward to his armor chamber, and then like the holographic display pops up and he's cycling through the different armor variants that he can choose till he gets to the one that he needs for that kind of the mission. You've noticed it with the Najal Stormcaller for the Space Wolves as well. He went from power armor into Terminator armor, and now he's back into power armor, which is quite a funny one. So if you have an old Terminator one, currently he's not legal in the story. Whereas I feel like you should have the option to, I'm taking Najal Stormcaller. He comes as base in power armor. You can upgrade him to have aggressive armor, or you could upgrade him to have Terminator armor, or you could upgrade him to have a jump pack perhaps. You know, that kind of fun narrative style stuff, which I think would be really cool and interesting moving forward. My thoughts on this new version of him is genuinely quite, like, I'm in love with him. I think he's really cool. And it's another one of those miniatures where I was very much more excited for Sicarius when they announced the two ones. I thought aesthetically the new Sicarius model is incredible. And Marneus Calgar was fine, but as I'm going through the process of painting him, I'm falling more and more in love with him. I'm really happy with the result that I've achieved, and we do have an incredible model now kind of at our fingertips. Obviously, the very big difference is he's coming alone again since, for the first time since he was in power armor. He has nobody with him. Previously, he had his 2 Victrix Guard, his Honor Guard to protect him, and before that again, he had his entire beautiful command squad. Do I think it's a funny thing that he doesn't have them now? Yeah, a little bit, to be honest with you, considering they've just announced the new Titus model who comes with a whole host of kind of hangers-on and bodyguards and stuff. It seems a little bit strange that they wouldn't give Calgar anybody. Obviously, we have gotten a new separate box of Victrix Guard. There is the possibility of constructing a banner and stuff in there, so I'm sure that is the intention. You're just supposed to buy, 2 boxes of those and have his 6 bodyguard kind of accompany him into combat. Although, should his bodyguard be maybe Terminators, perhaps, to suit his armor style and fighting stance and stuff, maybe, I don't know. But seeing him alone is a little bit strange. It's an odd choice, since how they seem to be pushing more towards giving named characters those kind of crazy big elaborate squads to go with them.
You got no friends, man.
Anyway, moving on to my final result and my finished new Marneus Augustus Calgar miniature, ready to be deployed alongside my Ultramarines and played in many games for many years to come. How long do you think it will be before we see another Marneus Calgar sculpt? I'd imagine it's probably going to be a long time off, but you're never really sure with Games Workshop, so yeah. Final few pictures of him next to a standard Primaris Space Marine, and of course next to his previous version. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.